Coming up, we look at Dynamics 365 and the new and evolving extensibility options for adaptability to your business processes. We're going to cover simple scenarios to extend Dynamics 365 with a visual process designer, how you can leverage Power Apps to easily build custom LOB apps, and advanced scenarios for developers to extend Dynamics 365 with custom workflow activities and Azure functions. I'm joined today by Luis Camino from the Dynamics 365 team. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's great to be here.
So we're continually enhancing Dynamics 365 to allow for greater extensibility, but can you bring us up to date?
Absolutely. It started with our focus on delivering a connected business platform, leveraging purpose-built Dynamics 365 apps from sales all the way to operations. Now, it sounds basic, but the fact is that the classic delineation between CRM and ERP has created a separation in data and in processes. Dynamics 365 breaks down this separation and allows for greater extensibility. This spans both simple to advanced extensibility scenarios for power users and developers. For example, if you're a power user, you can use Dynamics 365 to natively configure your company's business processes. This ultimately creates a new class of composite applications that could not be built before or were too cost prohibitive. If you're a developer, you continue to build custom business logic in Dynamics 365, you can build integrations across other line of business apps, and create custom workflows using familiar tools like Visual Studio, Azure Functions, Logic Apps, taking extensibility basically to new levels. Now, this gives you a lot more flexibility and options in terms of how you can configure and extend Dynamics 365 apps, whether you're focused on optimizing your business processes or adding custom business logic.
All right, so let's start with simple extensibility. Can you give us a little bit of context and show us a working scenario of what I might do?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's assume I'm a customer success manager at my company. I oversee customer satisfaction from our products, our customers' relationship, and ultimately, I'm responsible for my customer success. Now, to enable that, my role requires me to monitor the customer's usage and satisfaction from our solutions or products. This is an app I built for customer success managers using Power Apps. The app mashes up data from multiple data sources. I can see and search my list of customers from Dynamics 365 for sales, which, by the way, such functionality is an out-of-the-box capability in Power Apps. Let's go back to one of the customers I managed, Northwind Traders. I can see customer details such as revenue, forecast, as well as year-to-date discounts. I can see my recent activity. These are work orders basically coming from Dynamics 365 for field service.
Okay.
And from here, I can see my customer health, right? This is my active usage metrics, my customer satisfaction metrics that I am capturing. In here as well, I can see open orders. These open orders are coming from Dynamics 365 for operations.
So we've got a lot of great functionality here, a very robust app. It's really collecting data from a lot of sources, not only Dynamics 365 and all the different apps there, but also things like Office 365. Was it hard to build though? Because it looks pretty complicated in terms of all the things that you can do with it. How hard was it to get that up and running?
No, let me show you. There are really two things to show here. First, how we configure the sales process to fit our business needs so that we could capture the customer data that we required. And second, how we mashed up multiple data sources to present a holistic view of the customer tailored for my role as a customer success manager.
All right, so we'll start with Dynamics 365. How would I go in there and actually configure that process?
Let me show you. I'm here in the Visual Process Designer. This is the out-of-box sales process from Dynamics 365 for sales. We can see the different stages and steps in the sales process. Mm-hmm. Now, not everyone will use the default sales process. Remember how I've included a customer discount year-to-date on the app? Our sales process provides the ability to grant discounts. We've added a conditional step to force manager approval for discounts greater or equal to 15%. On this particular stage, we've added a step to require manager approval. The sales manager was able to easily adapt basically the company's sales process by using the Visual Process Designer.
And you can use things like drag and drop as well to add more steps, right?
Absolutely. If I wanted to, I could add one or more conditions and stages via drag and drop.
Great. So now you've got all the plumbing and the kind of the background information that you have to start plumbing data and piping data into Power Apps. How did you actually build that through the Power Apps console?
For that, let's switch to edit mode in my Power App. The way you connect to these data sources is through connections. You can see the connections available for me to use. Here is Dynamics 365 for Operations as an example. This is where I'm connecting to obtain my open orders. Once you establish these connections, you can then use the respective data sources to display or edit data. The app designer experience is like PowerPoint. I can add screens and controls connected to data sources. I've added a button to get the customer feedback. The feedback is captured in another screen, which we are now calling Guided Feedback Step 1. From here, I can quickly navigate from the button to the screen simply by using the Navigate function.
In there, you're basically just pointing to the screen here in the lower left.
Okay. Absolutely, right? So now this uses, by the way, the common data model from Power Apps to create a business entity with a few fields in just a few clicks.
And you can duplicate that. Looks like kind of, again, like PowerPoint to be able to replicate the screens.
Yes, so from here I can duplicate a screen to expedite my app building process, maintaining design consistency. I can also very quickly rename the screen to match naming conventions used from my prior screen.
This is going to make it a lot easier in terms of having to go through, in this case, steps 2 and 3, just by kind of copying and pasting that first screen, so you got a consistent look and feel.
Correct.
So I know you've done some more work on this app. Why don't you fast forward a bit to show what screens 2 and 3 actually look like?
Yeah, so fast forward a bit and we can now capture product satisfaction, service satisfaction, and customer comments on the new screen. As we start to collect this information, we can now use more sophisticated tools to measure sentiment and recalculate our customer satisfaction score. For this, we'll use that Azure function I just selected, which I've already written, and we'll show you basically how to now add this to Power Apps.
This is really great because you basically can go into Azure function, you can write your own code here, and basically that's going to calculate all of that for you, and you can pipe all of that data in. In our case, we're going to write a little bit of code for sentiment analysis that's going to be piped into your feedback dialog there.
I'll show you how easy it is to add any HTTP API to a Power App using my Azure function. From this screen, we'll very quickly integrate it to the Navigate function of this button. Once I add it to my Power App, you will get intelligence. In my case, I called it Update Customer Sentiment, Update Customer Health. And as you can see, it even gives me a description and the parameter names, in this case, customer and feedback.
So kind of like as you're developing this, that button's doing more than it's navigating, but it's also going to call that Azure function so that on the next screen, you'll be able to see what the updates are to customer sat and usage.
When we input product, service, and comment feedback, our Azure function can recalculate customer satisfaction simply by now going on to the next step, in this case, step 3. From here, you can see that the Azure function was triggered. There was a recalculation on overall satisfaction and active usage.
So you saw a slight uptick there in both the satisfaction and the usage?
Absolutely. And so now when we hit submit, this is now going to be memorialized into the common data model entity that we created previously.
So that's really using Azure Machine Learning to parse what was in Step 2 and really provide updates in Step 3 here that we're seeing on the screen. But you mentioned you can also build custom business logic as part of Dynamics 365. Can you walk us through that process?
Correct. Let me show you how within the sales process we can trigger a credit check step. This is a completely custom business logic created as a custom workflow activity by a developer. Here, I've used Visual Studio. Yeah, basically you need to develop it using the Microsoft.NET framework. I created a class that basically inherits from code activity, the workflow-based class. Activities that inherit from this code activity class can override the execute method to produce custom functionality.
So now do I use developer tools still to be able to build the custom business process in Dynamics 365, or do I return back to the Visual Process Designer?
Well, remember our sales process. We'll add a workflow component previously created named Credit Check that's leveraging the custom workflow activity we showed earlier in Visual Studio. So here, we'll simply drag and drop the workflow component into the discount stage. And from here, once we open up the workflow component, we'll set the trigger to be on stage entry and assign basically the credit check workflow to execute. And that's it.
And that's going to reach in and actually execute the custom code that you had in order to perform that credit check. And the nice thing here with this particular rule is that you're not going to disturb your sales manager effectively with a discount if the customer can't pay for it. So that credit check's very handy.
Absolutely. And also this means that before the sales manager approves the discount, the credit check for the customer will have to run first, right? We can also set field data using workflows.
And if we go back to the Power App itself, we've also integrated that as part of that first screen on the Power App, right?
Correct. So here we can see now credit rating associated to Northwind. This was updated using our all that custom business logic we've created in Visual Studio in that custom workflow activity.
It's very cool. So we saw some great examples whether you're a power user and want things simple, or you're a developer and can use some of the advanced extensibility.
Whether you want to configure or customize your business processes in a simple or advanced way, we are making it a lot easier. We offer out-of-the-box configurable business processes, the ability to build custom line of business apps and automation, as well as extensibility options for the developer community.
Great. So how do people get started today?
For latest and upcoming new features, make sure you visit our recently published Dynamics 365 public roadmap site.
Whether you're a developer or power user, you can get more information on Power Apps at the link below. And also keep watching Microsoft Mechanics for the latest in tech updates. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.